My wife and I have been talking about New York City for a trip for about 2 years now. You know how it goes. Something like, we should do New York. We should go on a trip. Yeah, let's do that this fall. And then somehow it's 2 years later and you've done nothing except talk about it at dinner. So I finally pulled it up for real. 2 nights, Park Hyatt, New York, West 57th Street, right in Midtown. You know, the kind of hotel that makes you feel like you belong in a movie about those people who have their life all together. The cash rate for those 2 nights is just over $1,100 total. To quote my father and his wisdom, yikes! That's $1,100 for a weekend. And we put it right back on the we'll eventually do it list. Then I did what I always do now, is I checked the Chase travel portal, the same hotel, the same dates, about 88,000 Chase points. I've got those. That is a real option. I went to the World of Hyatt website and I searched the Park Hyatt New York. It's a Category 7 Hyatt property, and I pulled up the award availability for those exact dates, and it was 56,000 points. 56,000 Hyatt points, which I can get by transferring 56,000 Chase points to Hyatt at a 1-to-1 rate. The portal, remember, was 88,000 Chase points. My transfer partner, 56,000 Chase points. That's right, that's the same hotel and the same room and the same weekend, but I saved 32,000 points just for doing the one extra search. And that is what hotel transfer partners actually do. And that is exactly what today's episode is all about. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Point Rookie. I'm Lane, and this is the show that takes you from clueless to confident in the world of credit card points and miles. If you just found us, welcome, and great timing. This episode is part 2 of a 3-part deep dive on transfer partners. In the last episode, we covered the big picture, what transfer partners are, how they compare to the travel portal, the 5 major bank ecosystems, and the golden rule of never transferring your points until you've confirmed availability. If you haven't listened to that one yet, go back and check it out. Everything we're doing today builds on that foundation. So today we're going to go deep on hotel transfer partners. Which programs are worth your attention, which bank points move to which hotel programs, and how to search for hotel awards the right way. And the news out of World of Hyatt that every points person needs to know about right now, we're going to make sure we cover that because it affects how you should be thinking about your Hyatt points starting this May. This is one of the most practical episodes that we've done yet. And by the time we're done, you're going to know exactly how to evaluate a hotel stay and points before you book. Let's get ready to go. So here's something I find fascinating about hotel points. Most people who have them are massively underusing them. Think about it. You've probably stayed at a Marriott or a Hilton at some point in your life. Maybe it was for work, maybe for a family vacation, maybe it was just because it was the closest hotel to wherever you actually needed to be. And if you signed up for the hotel's loyalty program, which is free, by the way, always free, you earned the points on that stay. Maybe you put them in a Marriott account or a Hilton account, or you forgot that you even had them. And those points are just sitting there quietly doing nothing. Or maybe you've got a hotel co-branded credit card, one of those Marriott cards, Hilton cards, where you earn hotel points on everyday spending. You've been swiping for months, maybe years, earning points you've never actually used for anything meaningful. Here's the thing about hotel points that separates the people who get great trips from the people who leave value on the table. There are 3 completely different ways to use them, and most people only ever discover one. The first way is the one everybody knows. You book a hotel, stay directly through the hotel's app or website using your points. Simple, straightforward, and it works just fine. The second way is through your bank's travel portal, and we covered that in the previous episode. Your bank converts your points into a fixed dollar amount, and you use them like cash to book hotels through the portal. It also works fine. And then there's the third way, which is where the magic really lives. Transfer your bank's flexible points directly into a hotel loyalty program and book at the program's own award pricing, which is often dramatically better than either of the first two options. The people who know all three options win every single time. They run the numbers, they pick the best path for their specific trip, and they get more travel for the same points. The people who only know one option are leaving real money on the table. Today, you're going to know all three. And more importantly, you're going to know how to choose between them. So before we get into which bank points transfer where, I need to give you a map of the hotel loyalty landscape. Because if you don't know the players, the rest of this is going to feel like directions without a starting point. There are 4 major hotel loyalty programs that matter most for beginners in the points and miles world. That does not mean that there are not others, so please understand that. But for today, World of Hyatt, Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton Honors, and IHG One Rewards. Let me walk you through each one. Not just who they are, but what they're actually worth to you as someone trying to get the most out of your points. We're going to start with the World of Hyatt. Hyatt is, by a meaningful margin, the highest-rated hotel loyalty program in the industry when it comes to actual redemption value. According to the Points Guy's April 2026 valuation, Hyatt points are worth around 1.7 cents each. So for context, that's more than double what Marriott points are worth and nearly 4 times what Hilton points are worth. That gap matters a lot when you're deciding where to put your transferable bank points. The reason Hyatt points are worth so much more comes down to how Hyatt prices its award nights. They use what's called a published award chart. 8 categories of hotels, from category 1 at the budget end all the way to category 8 at the ultra luxury end. Within each category, different pricing tiers based on demand. And crucially, you can look at this chart before you book and know exactly what hotel is going to cost you in points. No surprises, no guessing. You know what you're getting into before you transfer a single point. Hyatt's footprint is smaller than Marriott or Hilton. They have fewer properties overall, but the brands they do have are excellent. You can think Park Hyatt, Grand Hyatt, Andaz, Thompson Hotels, Alila, and the all-inclusive Ziva and Zilara resort brands in places like Cancun, Los Cabos, and Jamaica. If any of those destinations are on your list, Hyatt is almost certainly the right conversation to be having. Now, let's talk about Marriott Bonvoy. Marriott is the biggest hotel chain in the world. Over 9,000 properties in 140 countries. And that's across more than 30 brands. Marriott, Sheraton, Westin, W Hotels, Edition, St. Regis, Courtyard, Fairfield, the list goes on for quite a while. The sheer size of the Marriott network is its biggest competitive advantage. No matter where you're going in the world, there's almost certainly a Marriott brand hotel in that city, that town, or near the beach. Marriott points are worth roughly 75 cents each, according to the Points Guy's current valuations. That's significantly less per point than Hyatt. Here's the beginner trap with Marriott that I see constantly. People earn Marriott points, see they've got $150,000 in their account, and they feel rich. Like points rich, that is. That's a solid pile of points. But at 75 cents per point, 150,000 Marriott points is worth about $1,100 in redemption value, which sounds good until you realize the same 150,000 Chase points transferred to Hyatt might be worth 2 or 3 times that depending on the property. So the math matters. The number of points in your account is not the same thing as the value of those points. Marriott also moved to fully dynamic pricing a few years ago. There's no published award chart. The same hotel might cost 25,000 points one week and 50,000 points the same week the following summer. Demand, occupancy, cash rates, all of it affects the points price. You can't look it up in advance. You have to search each time and hope the price hasn't moved by the time that you book. That unpredictability is genuinely frustrating for beginners, and it's a big part of why I consistently recommend Hyatt as the starting point for hotel transfer partner redemptions. Let me give you a scenario that can make this real for you. Say you're planning a 4-night family trip to Nashville. You find a Marriott Westin right downtown. The cash rate is $250 a night, $1,000 total for the 4-night stay. You check the Marriott Bonvoy award pricing, and it's showing 40,000 points per night. That's 160,000 points for your 4 nights. At 75 cents per point, you're getting a dollar value of $1,200 out of those 160,000 points. That's a pretty good return. It's better than 0.75 cents per night because the hotel is priced a little below market for that specific weekend that I checked. Worth booking with Marriott points? Maybe. Run the math first. But now flip it. You find a Category 4 Hyatt in Nashville on the same dates. And there are several of those in Nashville, to be clear. Category 4 Hyatt properties run anywhere from 12,000 to 20,000 points per night. So 4 nights could cost you between 48,000 and 80,000 Hyatt points. That same difference in points could represent the difference between using 160,000 Marriott points and using 60,000 Chase points when you transfer to Hyatt. Again, same city, same country music, and really similar type of hotel, but a wildly different points math. That's why knowing the programs matter. One more thing about Marriott that's worth knowing. Marriott Bonvoy has a 5th night free benefit on award bookings. Book 5 consecutive nights with points, and the 5th night costs you $0. On a longer trip, a beach trip, a family vacation, that really is meaningful. 5 nights at 30,000 points each should run you 150,000 points. With 5th night free, it's 120,000. Knowing that rule before you search changes how you count your nights. All right, let's talk about Hilton Honors. Hilton is another massive global network. Brands include Hilton, DoubleTree, Hampton, Embassy Suites, Curio Collection, Waldorf Astoria, Conrad, and others. And if you stayed at a Hampton Inn or a DoubleTree, you've stayed at a Hilton property. The network is enormous and covers every price point from budget to ultra luxury. Hilton points are worth roughly 0.4 to 0.6 cents each, the lowest of the 4 programs we're discussing today. And like Marriott, Hilton uses fully dynamic pricing, no published chart. The points price floats based on demand and cash rates. Now, here's where I want to push back a little on the conventional wisdom, because I think Hilton gets more grief than it deserves. The high-end Hilton brands, Waldorf Astoria and Conrad specifically, can offer genuinely exceptional value at the right property on the right dates. And here's something interesting. Because Hilton points are worth less per point, Hilton often prices its awards at higher point quantities but lower cash equivalent value, which means if you can find a Waldorf Astoria where the cash rate is astronomical, think of like Maldives, Bali, Rome, the points prices sometimes represent dramatically better value than what the raw cents per point number would suggest. So let me paint that picture a bit more clearly. The Waldorf Astoria Maldives, one of the most stunning overwater resort properties in the world, truly aspirational, the cash rates can run over $2,000 a night. Hilton awards at this property have been found in the 120 to 150,000 point range per night, which at half a cent per point value sounds terrible. But if you're getting over $1 of cash value for every point you spend, that's actually a strong redemption, even by Hyatt standards. The lesson here is not that Hilton is always a good deal, it's that the program that looks worse on paper can occasionally produce the best redemption in real life. Run the numbers every time. Don't write off programs before you actually check. Hilton also has the same 5th night free benefit as Marriott. Book 5 consecutive nights on a standard award, and the 5th night is free. Same math, same logic, and if you're planning a longer stay at a Hilton property and you've got the points, 5 nights is almost always better math than 4. For transfers into Hilton, Amex transfers to Hilton at a 1-to-2 ratio. 1 Amex membership rewards point becomes 2 Hilton honors points. That is, at the time of this recording. Bilt transfers to Hilton at 1-to-1. Chase and Capital One do not currently transfer to Hilton. A word of caution on that Amex to Hilton transfer. 1 Amex point is worth roughly 2 cents. 2 Hilton points are worth roughly 1 cent. So you're starting with a more valuable currency in Amex and getting less value back in exchange, at least on paper. That doesn't mean the transfer is always wrong. It just means the specific redemption you're targeting needs to be strong enough to justify it. Do the math before you move anything. Remember, transfers are one way. And finally, IHG1 Rewards. IHG stands for Intercontinental Hotels Group. The brand include Intercontinental, Kimpton, Hotel Indigo, Crown Plaza, Holiday Inn, and others. IHG has over 6,000 properties worldwide with a range that goes from budget Holiday Inns to genuine luxury at the Intercontinental brand. IHG points are worth roughly 0.5 to 0.7 cents each. And like Marriott and Hilton, IHG uses dynamic pricing, no published chart. IHG doesn't get as much attention in the points community as the other three programs do, and honestly, I think that's kind of fair. The points are less valuable, the program is harder to squeeze exceptional value out of, and there are fewer showstopper redemption opportunities that make the internet go crazy, the way that Hyatt and Hilton occasionally do. But here's what IHG gets right. They have a fourth night free benefit for elite members on award bookings. Book 4 consecutive nights using points, and the fourth night costs you $0. On a longer trip, that can change the math significantly. 4 nights at 15,000 points each should cost 60,000 points. With your fourth night free, it costs 45,000. That's 25% savings just for knowing the rule. Chase, Bilt, and Capital One all transfer to IHG at 1-to-1 at the time of recording. One timely note on IHG right now, that Chase is running a 70% transfer bonus to IHG1 Rewards to the end of April 2026. But I do want to give you my honest read on this. And really, this isn't just about this. This is about all opportunities when you can buy points. You really need to evaluate them. So I want to be honest. Just because it's the kind of offer that sounds incredible, it will require a careful math. 70% bonus sounds pretty big. Transfer 1,000 Chase points and you get 1,700 IHG points. That's genuinely more points. But Chase points are worth roughly 2 cents each, and IHG points are worth roughly half a cent each. Even with the bonus, you're trading a more valuable currency for a less valuable one. Whether it makes sense depends entirely on the specific redemption that you have in mind. If you've got a specific IHG stay that you've been planning, the bonus can help. If you're transferring speculatively just to grab the bonus, that's the beginner trap I would steer you away from. Okay, before we move on, I want to address something that comes up constantly when people are just getting started, and that's co-branded hotel cards. The Marriott cards, the Hilton cards, the IHG cards, they have real legitimate value. A lot of them come with a free night certificate every year just for having the card. The Chase Marriott Bonvoy Boundless gives you a free night worth up to 35,000 Marriott points each anniversary year. The IHG Premier card gives you a free night up to 40,000 IHG points, and the Hilton Aspire with Amex, which is a premium card, gives you a free weekend night every year, no spend requirement. Those free nights can absolutely justify the annual fee on their own. There's also other cards that come and go, other Amex cards, other Hilton cards, other Marriott cards, so just keep an eye out on all of these. If you stay at Marriott properties regularly for work, or you've got a specific brand that you love, a co-branded card can make a lot of sense. But here's what I want you to hear before you go apply for one. Remember that Chase has a rule called the 524, and that's if you've opened 5 or more personal credit cards from any bank in the past 24 months, Chase will decline your application for most of their Chase cards. That includes the Chase Sapphire Preferred. That includes the Freedom Flex, the cards that build your flexible point base, the one that let you transfer to Hyatt and Marriott and IHG and airlines. Those are Chase cards. And they require you to be under that 5 card threshold to get approved. Here's the thing about Chase co-branded hotel cards. The Marriott Boundless, the IHG Premier, those are Chase cards too. They count towards your 524. So if you go get a Chase Marriott card early in your points journey, you've used a Chase slot. And if you've already opened a few other cards, you might find yourself locked out of the Sapphire Preferred right when you're ready to sign up for it. And remember, that is a tremendous beginner card. Or you may be ready to level up to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, but if you've used your slots, you will not be approved from Chase. So remember that when you're thinking about co-branded cards. My suggestion for most beginners is build your Chase ecosystem first, get the Sapphire Preferred, maybe add a Freedom card, lock in your flexible points engine at the beginning. Then, once you have that foundation in place, I would consider laying in co-branded hotel cards that make sense for how you actually travel. The free night certificates come and go, but usually they're there. And the 524 clock doesn't stop. Co-branded cards have a place in the strategy, just not usually at the beginning of your game. So let's talk about what's in other people's wallets. So I was at a conference not too long ago, and it was a work event, the kind where there are 200 people in a ballroom and everyone's trading business cards and pretending to be more energized than they really are. And by hour 6, everybody's wiped out. We end up at dinner for that night, big group, long table. The check comes, and I'm watching people reach for their cards because I genuinely can't stop doing this now. It's a sickness. This podcast has completely rewired my brain. And I notice a colleague across the table pull out a card. And he pulls out the Hilton Honors Business American Express, the co-branded hotel card that we just talked about. It's the business version. And I'll tell you what happened in my brain in about 2 seconds flat. First, they're earning Hilton points on every dollar of business spending. Second, business card probably means they're putting serious spend on this thing. Third, they have absolutely no idea. So I said something because that's just what this podcast has done to me. So I said, hey, how do you like that card? And they kind of laughed and said, yeah, they've had it for a few years, had a couple 100,000 Hilton points built up, and they've never really done anything with them. A couple 100,000 Hilton points just sitting there. Here's what that actually means. Hilton points are worth roughly half a cent each on a good redemption. So 200,000 Hilton points is worth about $1,000 in hotel stays, if you use them well, which honestly sounds okay until you understand what those same points could have been worth in a different ecosystem. Here's the thing nobody explains about co-branded hotel cards. Every dollar you spend earns points for that hotel and that hotel only. The Hilton business card earns Hilton Honors points. Hilton Honors points live in the Hilton world. Hilton to Hilton. That's the loop. And on the surface, that sounds great. Hilton has great properties everywhere. But here's what you can't do with Hilton points. You can't transfer them to Hyatt, where points are worth 3 to 4 times more per point. You can't send them to an airline program when you need flights. You can't route them to Marriott or IHG when those properties make more sense for your trip. The points go where Hilton lets them go, which is basically nowhere except Hilton. Now flip it. If instead of the Hilton business card, my colleague had a card earning transferable points, Amex membership rewards or Chase Ultimate Rewards, Bilt, those kinds, here's what changes. Those points don't belong to any single hotel. They belong to you, and you send them wherever makes the most sense for your specific trip. Want to use them at a Hilton? You can still do that. Amex transfers directly to Hilton Honors. Want to go to Hyatt instead, where you get dramatically more value per point? That's also an option. Flights, we got you covered. Whatever program has the best availability for what you actually want to do, that's where the points go. And this is the part most people won't tell you about co-branded hotel cards. They're not bad cards. They come with real benefits: free night certificates, automatic elite status, bonus points when you stay at the hotel. That really has value. But the trade-off is that your everyday spending, every dollar at the grocery store, every time you fill up your car with gas, every restaurant tab, all of it is earning into one locked ecosystem. And for most people who are building their points foundation, that trade is not the right one to make when you're first starting out. My colleague had no idea. They'd had that card for years, put real money through it, built up a meaningful balance, and the points were just sitting there because they didn't know what to do with them. And they couldn't send them anywhere that would have made the trip they actually wanted to take. That's not their fault. Nobody told them. That's literally why this podcast exists. If you've got a co-branded hotel card right now, don't panic. Don't cancel it tomorrow. But understand what it is. Single ecosystem card. And if you're thinking about your next card, start with a card that earns flexible, transferable points first. Build that foundation. Then add the co-branded card later if the benefits make sense for you specifically. That order matters more than most people realize. All right, let's take a breath for a second. We've covered a lot of ground already, and there's still some important material coming, including the Hyatt news that you really need to hear before May. But before we get there, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, how do I figure out which card I should actually have to access the hotel programs that are right for me? That's exactly what the Points Rookie Card Match tool is built to answer. It's a free tool. It asks you a few simple questions about how you spend money, what kind of travel you're chasing, and where you're starting from. And it gives you a clear, specific direction, not a list of 17 cards to research on your own, not an overwhelming comparison spreadsheet, just a clear answer that makes sense for your situation. And if today's episode is making you realize that Hyatt access through Chase is where you want to focus, or that Amex might be a better fit for your lifestyle and travel goals, this tool is the fastest way to get from I don't know which card to here's the one that I need to start with. 100% free. Find it in the show notes, or you can find it at pointsrookie.com. All right, friends, quick mid-episode break, proudly brought to you by absolutely no one. That's right. This show is currently powered by caffeine, enthusiasm, and the hope that one day a sponsor will appear like a surprise American Express offer. Brands, if you're listening, this is your moment. Step into the light. I'm ready. And for everyone else, if you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe or share it with a friend. And if you want to fuel the caffeine part of this operation, you can buy me a coffee. Totally optional, always appreciated. Links in the show notes. All right, back to it. Let's talk about Hyatt's big news, because this is genuinely important and time sensitive. I've been talking about the world of Hyatt for most of this episode, and for good reason. It's been the gold standard of hotel loyalty programs for transferable points for years. But in February of this year, Hyatt made an announcement that sent a ripple through the entire points community. I'm talking about people were losing their minds. And you need to understand what changed, what it means for you, and what you should do about it. So here's the background. For years, Hyatt's award chart worked on a simple, beautiful system. 8 categories of hotels, 3 pricing tiers within each category, off-peak, standard, and peak. And it was published, so you actually knew, right there on the website. You could look at the chart, see a Category 5 hotel cost between 17,000 and 25,000 points per night, depending on the dates, and plan your trip around that number. No surprises. The same Category 5 hotel would cost 17,000 points on a slow Tuesday in February, and 25,000 points on New Year's Eve. That's the range. That's the deal. That predictability was Hyatt's superpower. In a world where Marriott and Hilton have both moved to fully dynamic pricing, where the points cost can change every single day and there's no chart to anchor your expectations, Hyatt's published award chart was a massive competitive advantage, especially for beginners. You didn't need to be an expert to use Hyatt. You just needed to look at the chart. And in May of 2026, that system is changing. Starting in May, Hyatt is expanding from 3 pricing tiers to 5. The new tiers are called lowest, low, moderate, upper, and top. The 8 hotel categories are staying the same, category 1 through 8. But within each category, the range of what a night can cost is getting much wider. Here's what that looks like in real numbers, and I want to be specific because this is where the impact really lands. Category 8 properties, the most luxurious hotels in Hyatt's portfolio, places like the Park Hyatt Tokyo or the Park Hyatt Maldives, used to max out at 45,000 points per night on peak dates. Under the new chart, those same properties on high-demand nights can now cost up to 75,000 points per night. That is a 67% increase at the top end. Category 7 properties like the Grand Hyatt Baha Mar in the Bahamas, Park Hyatt Beaver Creek, Andaz properties in major cities used to peak out at 35,000 points, but under the new system, top pricing jumps to 55,000 points. And the all-inclusive resorts like the Zivas and the Zalaras get the 5-tier treatment too. The ceiling on top-tier all-inclusive properties is moving from 58,000 points per night to 85,000 points per night at the very top. That's the worst-case scenario on a peak weekend at the most popular resort. Now, before you panic, and I know some of you are doing the math right now and feeling a little sick, let me give you the honest full picture. First, the lower end of the chart is actually going to get cheaper in some cases. Categories 1, 2, and 3 properties are dropping by 500 to 1,000 points on their lowest tier nights. If you're booking a simple budget-friendly Hyatt on a slow week, you might actually pay slightly less than you would today. Second, Hyatt has committed to a gradual rollout. In 2026, they're saying that only a limited number of nights at a limited number of properties will fall into those upper and top pricing tiers. The big painful increases, I'm afraid, are more than likely going to hit in 2027 and beyond. This year, most nights will still price somewhere around where they do now. Third, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say in this section, any reservation that you book before May, and the date is actually May 20th, at current pricing is honored at that price, even for stays that happen after the change takes effect. Hyatt has confirmed this clearly. If you book a Category 7 hotel at the current peak price of 35,000 points per night before May 20th, that reservation is locked in at 35,000 points, even if the same dates would cost 55,000 points after the changes go live. This is a rare and genuinely generous policy. And it means right now, before this episode even launches, and definitely before you finish listening to this one, is the best possible time to book any Hyatt stays that you've been planning. Fourth, and I want to be really clear about this, Hyatt is still the only major global hotel loyalty program that publishes an award chart. Marriott, no chart. Hilton, no chart. IHG, no chart. Hyatt, still publishing a chart, even with 5 tiers instead of 3. That transparency advantage isn't gone, it's just reduced. But it does still exist. And compared to the total darkness of a dynamic pricing at the other programs, having any chart is still better than having no chart. So is Hyatt still worth transferring Chaser Bill points to? I would say yes, absolutely. Especially at mid-range categories, especially on flexible dates, and especially if you're targeting the new lowest and low pricing tiers where you might actually save points. But the window on the old predictable pricing for luxury properties is closing. And this leads me to the biggest mistake I see beginners make with hotel points, and honestly with points in general, and that's hoarding of your points. I see it all the time. Someone has 100,000 Hyatt points and they're waiting for the perfect trip, waiting until they have time to really research it, waiting for the right moment. And while they're waiting, Hyatt announces changes just like this one. And now the trip that they were saving for is going to cost 20 or 30,000 more points than it would have if they had just booked it 6 months ago. Here's what I want you to hear. There is no perfect redemption. There's a good redemption, and there's a trip you actually take. Those are the only 2 options that matter. Points sitting in an account are theoretical. Points that turn into a night at a beautiful hotel with your family, creating memories, that's what's real. The best time to use your points is when you have a trip you actually want to take, not when you've accumulated some magic number of points, not when you found the theoretical optimal redemption. It's now, for the trip you're actually planning. A solid redemption today beats a mythical perfect redemption next year, every single time. Okay, so you know a bit more about the major programs. You know which bank points transfer where. You understand the Hyatt changes. Now let me show you how to actually find a hotel award before you move a single point. This is the part that trips people up the most, and it's actually a lot simpler than you think. Step 1, decide where you're going and roughly when. You don't need exact dates quite yet, just a general window. Step 2, go to the hotel program's website or app and search for hotels in your destination. Every major program has a filter that shows you award availability, meaning rooms that you can book with points. Turn that filter on and see what comes up. Step 3, look at what properties are available and what the points price is per night. Write it down, screenshot it, whatever you need to do. Step 4, open a second tab and search for the same hotel on the same dates with a cash booking. Get the actual cash rate. Step 5, do the math. Divide the cash rate by the number of points it would require. That gives you the cents per point value. So if a hotel costs 20,000 points and the cash rate is $300, you're getting 1.5 cents per point. Does that make sense? Compare that against the general value of that program's points. For Hyatt, the average is about 1.7 cents per point. So 1.5 cents is slightly below average. Still okay, but you may want to keep searching. For Marriott, the average is 0.75 cents. So if you got 1.5 cents per night at a Marriott, that is an excellent deal. Step 6. Once you've found a redemption that makes sense, confirm the specific room you want is actually showing as available to book with points. Not just that the hotel shows up in a word search, that the actual room type you want is bookable with points on your specific dates. Okay, step 7. Then, and only then, go to your bank account and initiate the transfer. Never skip step 6. Never transfer first and search second. The award has to be available before you move the points. Transfers are permanent. Here's a pro tip specific to Hyatt that's worth building into your search routine. Hyatt has a feature called the Points Calendar inside their website and app. You pull up a hotel, and it shows you a calendar view of the entire month with the points pricing color, coded by tier. At a glance, you can see which dates are cheapest, which are most expensive, and how much flexibility in your dates could save you points. Say you're looking at the Hyatt Regency in Maui. Who wouldn't be? You want to go in July. You pull up the points calendar and you see that the first 2 weeks of July are pricing at the upper tier, which means they're expensive. But the last week of July drops back down to moderate. You shift your trip by 1 week. You just saved 8,000 points per night without changing your destination, without changing your hotel, or your experience in any meaningful way. That's the points calendar working in your favor. Use it every time you're searching Hyatt. Now, let me show you the 3-way comparison I want everyone to run before booking any hotel stay, because this habit alone is going to save you thousands of points over time. Say you're going to go to Nashville for 4 nights. Here's how you run the comparison. 1, cash price. You search hotels.com or Google Hotels. A nice Hyatt-centric downtown Nashville in July runs about $225 or so a night. 4 nights cash is about $880 or so. 2, check the portal price. Check the Chase Travel Portal. The same hotel books for about 22,000 Chase points per night at the portal rate of 1.25 cents per point. 4 nights in the portal cost 8,000 Chase points. 3, transfer partner price. 3, check the transfer partner price. You go to the World of Hyatt website. That same Hyatt-centric is a Category 3 property. Under the current chart, Category 3 properties run between 9,000 and 15,000 points per night, depending on dates. Let's say your July dates come up at 13,000 points per night. 4 nights cost 52,000 Hyatt points, which you get by transferring 52,000 Chase points 1-to-1. So the portal cost was 88,000 Chase points. The transfer partner cost was 52,000 Chase points for the same hotel in the same room, 36,000 points cheaper. That's 36,000 points you just freed up for your next trip. By spending 60 seconds doing a comparison that you didn't know how to do, that's 36,000 points cheaper, and you just freed that up for your next trip whenever you want to take it. By spending 60 seconds doing a comparison that you really didn't even know how to do. And that's why you run all 3 of these searches each and every time. Check the cash price, check the travel portal price, and then check the transfer partner. Pick the winner. That's it. All right, let's land the proverbial plane. Here's what you know now that you probably didn't know at the start of this episode. And I want to be clear, there are more transferable hotel partners out there. But for today, we talked about the 4 major hotel loyalty programs worth your attention, specifically as a beginner. World of Hyatt, Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton Honors, and IHG One Rewards. They are all not equal. Hyatt points carry the most value at around 1.7 cents each. Marriott runs about 0.75 cents. Hilton and IHG hover somewhere around 0.4 and 0.7 cents, depending on your redemption. The transfer partner map matters. Only Chase and Bilt transfer to Hyatt. Chase, Amex, and Bilt transfer to Marriott. Amex and Bilt transfer to Hilton. And Amex at a 1-to-2 ratio that deserves careful math before you execute that. Chase, Bilt, and Capital One all transfer to IHG. Marriott and Hilton both offer a fifth night free on award bookings. If you're staying 5 or more nights, always run the math with that benefit factored in. IHG has a similar fourth night free for elite members. These rules exist. Use them when they make sense. Co-branded hotel cards have real value, especially the free night certificates. But Chase co-branded hotel cards count towards Chase's 524 rule. Build your Chase flexible points ecosystem first, Chase Sapphire Preferred, and the Freedom Card specifically. Then add co-branded hotel cards once that foundation is set. So those can come in at any point without costing you a Chase slot. Hyatt is changing its award chart in May of 2026. Believe it is May 20th. And there will be 3 pricing tiers are becoming 5. Peak redemptions at top-tier properties are going up significantly, some by as much as 67% at the ceiling. The lower end of the chart is getting slightly cheaper. Reservations booked before May are honored at current pricing, so if you have a Hyatt stay in mind, book it now. Don't hoard your points. Use them for trips you actually want to take. Points lose value over time. That's the pattern, and Hyatt's May changes are just the latest example of this. A good redemption today beats a perfect redemption that you actually never take. Always run 3 searches before you book any hotel. Check the cash price, check the portal price, and check the transfer partner price, and then pick the best one for you and your specific situation. Remember, search first, then confirm your availability, and then transfer. That rule never changes. And the Hyatt Points Calendar is your new best friend for finding the cheapest dates at any Hyatt property. Use it every single time. I want to close this one by zooming out for a second, not from the programs or the math, but from what this whole episode is really about. Most people approach hotel stays as a spending question. Can I afford this? Is this too much? Should I wait for a cheaper option? What the points game does, when you actually understand it, is it changes the question entirely. It's not, can I afford this? It's, what have I already earned toward this? And that is a completely different conversation to be having with yourself. If you've been swiping your card for 2 years, earning points on every purchase, and booking every hotel at the cash rate, you're playing half the game. You're earning, but earning without redeeming is like filling up a savings account without ever spending it. Points have no value until they turn into something real. Knowing how to search hotel awards, run the 3-way comparison, find the right transfer, and lock in a booking before a chart change hits, that's the full game. Same everyday spending, same points being earned, but it's a completely different outcome. That gap between earning and actually using is exactly where this show lives. Every episode is trying to close it a little more. You don't have to become obsessed with this like me. You don't have to read points blogs at midnight or build a spreadsheet for every single redemption. You just need to know enough to run the comparison before you book. Cash rate, portal rate, transfer partner rate. 3 steps, 3 minutes, that's it. So the next time you're booking a hotel, a weekend trip, a family vacation, a work conference where you're going to be somewhere worth staying anyway, don't open the hotel app first. Open Hyatt, check the award chart, run the numbers. Maybe it saves you nothing and you book the way that you always have. Or maybe you find out that a trip you thought you couldn't afford is already sitting there, paid for in points you've been earning for months. Either way you looked, and people who look are the ones who win. All right, that's it for today's episode. I genuinely appreciate you spending the time with me. Every episode, you're going to get sharper, and I know it's starting to show. If today clicked for you, if the hotel program map finally made sense, or the Hyatt news gave you the push that you needed to finally book that stay, do me a favor. Share this episode with somebody who needs to hear this information. Maybe it's a friend of yours who's been sitting on hotel points for 2 years. Maybe it's a coworker who knows nothing about points and miles. This information can genuinely change how someone's family travels, and the more people who have it, the better. And if you want help figuring out which card sets you up for hotel transfer partner redemptions, don't forget about the Points Rookie Card Match tool as a great step. It's free, it's simple, and you can find it in the show notes or pointsrookie.com. Come find me on Instagram and say hello, or check me out on TikTok. Send me any hotel redemption questions that you have. I promise you, I do read every single message. So keep learning, keep earning, and remember, we're going to keep going from clueless to confident together in the miles and points game. And we'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week, everybody.